The Feast of Ashes. The Ilyari fleet cut through the smoke-wrapped sky of the forest moon, their silver hulls gleaming like blades above a charred world. Beneath them, the colony that once sprawled with human laughter and stubborn machinery lay blackened, nothing but husks of wood and twisted metal. To Commander Civil, it was a scene of annihilation. Fire, that vile element, had swept through everything. In Ilyari memory, fire was not an energy but a devourer, a corruption that burned beyond reason. Even the word for it in their tongue was spoken only in whispers. Scans indicate movement, reported Adhar, the ship's sensor officer. His voice trembled. Commander, humans are alive down there. Alive? Civil's mind rebelled at the thought. No creature could endure that. Not flame, not ruin. And yet the readings were undeniable, heartbeats thudding like war drums, clustered amid the smoldering wreckage. When the first figures emerged through the rising ash, Civil's breath caught. They were scarred, clothes singed, but upright, laughing, as though disaster had been a game. One carried a scorched trunk of supplies across his shoulders, another dragged a bent solar panel like a prize. A woman stumbled forward clutching a bundle wrapped in cloth, her eyes shining, her grin defiant. The humans had walked out of the unthinkable. Civil whispered, horrified. What manner of creatures feast in the jaws of destruction itself? The Ilyari descended cautiously, their respirators hissing against the acrid air. Every instinct urged them to retreat from the smoldering soil. The land still whispered of death. The roots burned beneath the ash, smoke clawing toward the sky as if eager to consume again. The humans waved to them. Waved. One even raised a hand in a mocking salute. You came, the human woman cried, her voice raw but jubilant. We thought we'd be stranded for weeks. You just missed the fireworks. Fireworks? Adhar stumbled over the alien syllables, aghast. Another human grinned, holding up a blackened cooking pot like a trophy. Damn near lost everything, but the pot made it through. That's worth celebrating. Civil's stomach churned. Celebrate. Among the bones of a forest, surrounded by the ghostly stench of burnt life? Yet the humans were already setting their salvaged belongings in a circle, speaking in quick, bright voices. One knelt to strike metal against stone, coaxing sparks onto a bundle of dry bark. Civil staggered back, horrified. They were making fire again. Deliberately. The Ilyari soldiers raised their hands in alarm. Stop. You summon destruction, one cried. The human only laughed. Relax. It's under control. A flicker caught, a flame bloomed, and soon fire danced at the center of the circle, contained, breathing, alive. The humans sat around it, as if welcoming an old friend. To the Ilyari, it was madness. Fire was a curse, an enemy no sane being approached. To willingly sit near it, to feed it wood, was the same as calling down ruin. Yet the humans leaned close, their faces glowing orange, their eyes glittering like embers. They pulled rations from scorched packs, spearing them with sticks, holding them into the flame. Fat dripped and hissed, a sound so obscene to Ilyari ears it was like listening to blood boil. Join us, the woman said warmly. We're having a feast. It's tradition after making it through something like this. Adhar shuddered. You honor your suffering by feeding it. The woman's grin widened. No, we honor surviving it. Civil's throat tightened. He could not yet comprehend what he was witnessing. And then the humans began to sing. It was not a mournful dirge, as the Ilyari might have expected. The humans sang loudly, boisterously, their cracked voices rising above the crackle of flame. The words were harsh and foreign, but the rhythm pulsed with defiance, every note daring the ashes to bury them. One slapped his knee in time, another stomped a boot against scorched earth. Laughter roared between verses, sharp and wild, carrying a power the Ilyari could not name. Civil felt his skin crawl. They celebrate the abyss. They crown calamity as king. No, Adhar murmured, eyes wide. Look closer, Commander. They are not bowing to it. They are binding it, turning death into story. Indeed, as the humans roasted their food, they traded tales of the firestorm, how one dragged another through choking smoke, how another saved a pet stuffed in a crate, how someone tripped, fell, and still came out alive. They laughed at terror, reshaping it into memory they could hold without trembling. To the Ilyari, it was unholy. To take trauma and roasted into laughter was like forging a blade from poison. And yet, beneath the horror, Civil felt something else, unease. Because the fire no longer looked like a curse in the human's hands. It looked like a tool. Night deepened, and the moon's scarred horizon glowed faintly red from lingering embers. The humans feasted until their faces gleamed with grease and soot. Their voices grew quieter, more solemn, but still carried an edge of joy. Civil lingered at the circle's edge, torn between revulsion and fascination. The fire's warmth tugged at him, though every instinct screamed to step back. A child, singed but unbroken, looked up at him and offered a charred stick with meat skewered on its end. "You hungry?" Civil recoiled. "I do not eat by the flame." "Then sit," the child said. "Just watch. That's okay too." Civil did. Against his will, he watched as humans leaned against one another, smiling through bruises, finding solace in shared food. They should have been broken, keening with despair. Instead, they looked stronger. "Commander," whispered Adhar, voice trembling. "If they can tame this, what else can they tame?" The thought unsettled Civil. The humans' power was not in fire itself, but in the way they consumed calamity and remade it into strength. He could not shake the feeling that they were feasting not only on food, but on the ashes of disaster itself. As the final embers dimmed, the humans began telling their plans. They spoke of rebuilding, of planting new crops, scavenging metal, raising walls again where everything had fallen. Their voices carried no doubt, only certainty. "Nothing keeps us down," one said, raising his cup in a mock toast. "We'll make this place better than before." Civil's breath faltered. The Ilyari would have fled such a moon, abandoning it to ghosts. But the humans spoke of staying, as if fire had baptized the land, making it theirs. Suddenly Civil understood, this was no madness. It was conquest, not of worlds, but of fate itself. Disaster struck, and the humans did not kneel. They feasted. They wove horror into their tapestry and carried it forward. "Commander," Adhar whispered, dread in his eyes, "if they do this with fire, what will they do with the universe itself?" The question hung like smoke, choking Civil's thoughts. And then the humans began to rise, shouldering their packs, ready to walk into tomorrow with laughter still clinging to their throats. Dawn broke. Pale light spilled across the charred valley, revealing blackened stumps and smoldering ruins. Yet among the destruction, the humans moved with purpose, marking sites for shelters, sorting salvaged supplies, speaking of futures instead of endings. Civil stood with his soldiers, every instinct demanding retreat. To linger here was to invite ruin. But his eyes remained fixed on the humans, who had taken catastrophe and claimed it as fuel. The child from before caught his gaze and smiled, soot-streaked but fearless. "We'll be fine," she said. "We always are." Civil's chest tightened. To the Ilyari, fire was unholy. To humans, it was dinner, story, memory, power. They did not just survive the blaze, they consumed it. And for the first time in his long career, Civil felt fear not of fire, but of the beings who could turn fire into feast. As the humans raised a new flame to boil water for the day's work, the Ilyari soldiers stepped back, unsettled. Because now they knew, the humans were not merely survivors. They were devourers of disaster. And nothing in the universe could stop them.